attention span. Do you think part of that is attention span is so fleeting now? Like when we would create content in my congressional office, like the young staffers would come in and say, oh, if it's above like 8 seconds, you're losing audience at such a rapid pace.
It's so interesting that we're doing a podcast, which if you do just an hour, the audience thinks that's too short. I get what you're saying. I've asked this question many times. I don't get the attention span in the American public. It seems to be either 8 seconds or 2 hours. They want podcasts to be long. When I just did an hour, it was always screaming at me, no, more. What do you make of that?
I look at what happened in the sports space where ESPN has to go and fire all of these expensive on-air talents in order to go put Pat McAfee on streaming multiple hours a day in service of that long-form audience. But then again, like the way that Instagram is driven now by the reels or the, whatever it is, their stories, and then YouTube has their short form content. Yeah, I guess it's either short or long, and the middle is losing.
So, are you happy to be free of Congress and all this kind of stuff?
Well, I don't.
You seem very relaxed.
As relaxed as one can be under these conditions. I think that Congress is supposed to be temporary. I mean, I've done it for 8 years. I've been in elected office 6 years before that in the state legislature. So from age 26 to 42, I was an elected official. And I think that should be a season of life. I don't think it should be your whole life.
But I mean, like, the things that people talk about when they get out of Congress, that they are so happy that they don't have to do anymore, like fundraising and that stuff.
I never did that anyway. I mean, I am the only Republican. I was the only Republican in Congress who took no lobbyist money, no PAC money. And I decided I would rather sink or swim on my own than be a valet for those people.
Well, how did you get away with that? I mean, how did you then get the money to run your elections? Because why does everybody else do it?
Before Donald Trump, there was no small dollar infrastructure on the Republican side. Obama had created that. He used the Chicago ward style system, put it on the internet, scaled it to the moon, and there was
go back. I don't know what you're talking about.
So
what's the Chicago ward style?
Democrats invested in the internet before Republicans, politically speaking. And so they did this list building. Traditionally, that list building, your ward boss would know this person needs a little help with groceries, this person's son needs a job, this person cares about issue X or the park or whatever. And that was managed very locally. What Obama understood is that you could digitize that and scale it to the moon. David Plouffe wrote a great book about one of the best books on politics, Audacity to Win.
Yeah, in 2008, they definitely had the technological advantage.
It took us until 2016 to really catch up because the internet was the only thing that could harness all of this interest in politics that was Trump was generating among low propensity voters. And I rode that wave. I had like over 100,000 active donors throughout the country. I think my average donation was around $88.
But also you do, I mean, look, again, I'm glad we're meeting and talking because I feel like I already know you better than what I've known for the whole time I've been, seeing you just on TV and in the news because I don't trust anything in the news. So I mean, that's kind of interesting right there. But, okay, first of all, were your parents? Where do you get your politics? Like, is it from your parents?
Yeah.
Were they Republicans?
My mother was a Southern Democrat who voted Democrat her whole life until Jimmy Carter gave away the Panama Canal. And then, for some reason, that was the issue that turned my mother into a Republican.
She must be thrilled that your boy's going to take it back.
She can't wait. She's real pumped about the Mount McKinley change as well.
What do you think about that? What do you think about us becoming an empire again and just annexing places? I did not see that coming. And when I say I did not see that coming, I'm going to spell it for you. IDIDNAZI. I did not see that coming. because we really shouldn't be annexing, should we? Annexing? I mean, doesn't Greenland have to actually sell it to us if they wanted to? Isn't it their choice?
I care a lot more about whether or not we're going to annex features of the Panama Canal or Greenland than whether or not Russia annexes Crimea. I think that you can.
Are you for it?
Huh? Annexing Greenland and parts of the Panama Canal? Sure, if it's a deal that makes sense.
But we don't own them.
Well,
so
yeah,
you're saying
it's a real estate transaction, though.
It's not an invasion is not a real estate transaction.
Well, we don't say anything about an invasion.
Well, how else do you take something?
A real estate transaction.
So they would have to agree to it.
Yeah, we could buy it.
Okay, that's different than annexing.
Well, but
so you would agree that Denmark has to agree to it. We're not just going to take it.
The people of Greenland, I think, would be the most dispositive voice.
Okay, so we can go over the head of the government. What about, can we do that here? If some other foreign country came and asked the people of this country, do you want free blowjobs? We could just do that.
It would be a compelling offer.
There's the Matt Gaetz I'd heard about.
It would be more compelling than
look,
what a lot of people feel like they're getting from the government now.
I don't know what you've heard about me. I don't know what you heard about me. Remember that one?
Yeah.
But a bitch can't get $1 out of me. Well, that doesn't apply to you. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to go there. I just sang the song.
Way less than Skip Bayless, I would suggest.
Boy, I saw that story.
1.5 million.
It's so typical, though, isn't it? Guys who are certainly of a certain age, but they can be young, who are just so desperate for usually they're married. I'm not knocking marriage, but, and it's just been so long since they have any sort of affection or anyone touching them or laughing at their jokes that they make such fools of themselves. They just want something from someone of the opposite sex that makes them feel alive again.
You're so right. And what is so, I think, undertold in the sugar daddy, sugar baby dynamic that we see play out pretty regularly across society now is like, who's taking advantage of who? Because what you just described, a lot of these guys that fit that archetype, they get in to some young pussy that they hadn't been in before, and they will do anything. They'll give up their family, their house, their money. It is so like, oh wait, are you saying that they're the person utilizing leverage in the power dynamic more than someone who quite literally has them by the balls?
Well, when you put it that way, Congressman, former Congressman.
Don't demote me.
I won't. But okay, so like I brought my book in. This book you'll love, I think. Maybe not as much as my old one, since that's your pattern. But I want to read you. This is a chapter on this subject that we're talking about. It's very apropos for what you went through, and because it does get into economic issues. And also, I've never done this on this show, but I want to get the quotes right. I have quotes from people, and I've never brought anything on like this. But
I didn't know you were allowed to bring homework.
I never have done it, but you're a little different. I got to get this right. It's for your benefit as much as anybody, and it's not against you. I'm an honest broker more than anything else. Okay, so, and that's why the left hates me too. The far left really hates me, and I welcome their hatred because I just will not carry the water.
Why do you think
of all their insanity or yours?
Well, and by the way, no one's
annexing Greenland
or buying it.
Buying it is different. See, again, let's just be honest. Come on, we're just guys talking here. Those are two different things. Just look me in the eye and tell me you understand that. There are two different things. Buying something that they agree to sell to us or just taking from another country. That's what Hitler did, and that's Putin. We're not. I know you guys like to be flirting with authoritarianism, but let me ask you that question. You're a married man now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and your wife is lovely.
Thank you.
You did well. And, okay, so sometimes in a marriage, the couple, I've heard both sides. I've heard couples say, yeah, I'm a big flirt, but it's okay because he knows I'll never cross the line. And so that's just okay in the marriage. That's like they've decided that's okay to flirt, or the guy does it. Then I've heard some marriages where it's like, no, that is crossing the line. Okay, I bring this up because you guys are really flirting with authoritarianism. You know what I mean? He admires
like we didn't try to throw our political prisoners in jail. We talked about it, but we didn't actually try.
Oh, you did try.
We never indicted Hillary. We never indicted our enemies.
Yeah, because they blocked it. You
Who blocked it?
The Justice Department. There were actually some people there at the beginning who were a little more fair-minded. I mean, it's not going to be that way in the second term, although that's the job you were up for.
I was, and honestly, I was.
If you had been there in 2016, would you have indicted Hillary?
Only if that's what the facts and the law commanded. I wouldn't have done it as some get back politically, because look, that doesn't end. And what I understand is, if you do that to them and they do that to us, then you don't ever get out of the cycle. And as someone who has held some power, it's a pretty frightening concept that when you get out, the people who take power then can utilize the apparatus of the state to deprive you of your freedom.
But of course, you went right to whataboutism. You didn't really answer.
I reject the premise that we flirt with authoritarianism.
Well, come on, man. Seriously? Using every possible lever to stay in office after he lost the election, plainly. Just always being friends with Putin. He likes him. He likes Viktor Orban. Always like pining to be with Team Strongman and not really that, into our allies. You don't think that's flirting with authoritarianism? And if you flirt with it, he also makes jokes about, maybe after this term, if it's so good, we should have another one, which would be, again, an abrogation of the basic tenet of the Constitution, 2 terms. That's flirting. That's flirting. To even make a joke about it is flirting with authoritism. My question, like in a marriage, can you just flirt and not cross the line?
Of course.
Most don't, but okay. I'm telling you, most guys, if they flirt, what they're doing is they're seeing if the girl flirts back. If she doesn't, I was just flirting. If she does, yeah, I'll fuck her.
So you think flirtation only goes as far as your options at that moment.
Well put.
Yeah,
for a man.
Yeah, it might be different for women, but I think that in Trump's case, he looks at 4 years of a pretty peaceful world. You have to concede that. And when I got elected, the places where I would come into some conflict with Trump would be where he would seek powers of war that I thought were reposed in the Congress. And now, and I had all these Democrats really eager to work with me. No war with Iran. We should stop Trump from having that power. But then, as soon as Biden is cheerleading this war in Ukraine, all the anti-war Democrats became pro-war. There are no anti-war Democrats left.
That's an interesting point. It's off the point we're talking about a little bit. It's a
if you're
you haven't lost all your skills as the Congressman. Come on, man.
If you're talking about the use of force to achieve your political goals, I think it's somewhat on top.
It's not like the left doesn't do a version. I mean, they should not have been bitching about Trump is not a legitimate president. He's that was wrong. I agree. It's very different than actually trying to stay in power. We just had January 6th. It went off smoothly without a hitch. Everyone places. Okay, the rehearsal went great, and now we do it and we go home. That's not what would have happened if you guys had lost, and you know that.
Bill, you understand.
That is an asymmetry you have to address.
Okay, let me address it. You're right. This past week, we had a wonderful January 6th. The last time we had a Republican president elected and Democrats did not object to the electors, do you know when the last time that was?
See, this is the kind of bullshit.
No, look, it was 1988. It was 1988 the last time they didn't object to Republicans. They objected to George W. Bush winning Ohio.
Objection is different than calling the Justice Department and pressuring them to do things that even his own Justice Department wouldn't do. It's different than calling the guy in Georgia and saying, find me 11,000 votes. It's different than going to court with all these ridiculous cases that were laughed out of every courtroom. It's different than actually sending fake electors. Don't give me bullshit and we'll be friends. Bullshit me? No, we'll still be friends. But I'll think you're a hack. Instead of someone who could actually have an honest conversation and admit this asymmetry exists.
I don't believe it's asymmetrical at all. When you look at the way the Democratic Party used an authoritarian bum rush to get Joe Biden out of the race and replace him with Harris, was that the great sacrifice to the virtue of democracy and the great rejection of authoritarianism was swapping her out for him like it's some Mississippi Square dance?
I'm just going to end this part of our discussion by saying, I think I just looking in your eye, talking to you, not the media guy I saw. You're a lot brighter than I thought you were.
Did you think I was not bright?
Yeah.
And what gave you that impression?
Like everything you've said and done. No, and also because the media is but I just never talked to, I could say, and by the way, this is only a semi-compliment because what I'm saying is, I think you're absolutely bright enough to know what I'm talking about. And I understand why you have to carry the water for the other side because you are, your career is just beginning. Trump loves you. That's a good thing in this day and age. And so, yeah, I get it. I get what you can and cannot say, and we can put that aside. Let's get back to horror.
Good vibes, great food, amazing restaurant. She must have booked this months ago.
Pardon me?
Club Random is wrong.
So Rome always wins because even if they lose battles, they go to the Italian ally.
Club Random is brought to you by the audio marketing gurus at Radioactive Media. Congratulations. You're right, we have to stand up for each other. I mean, whether you like the Tesla rooms or not, we self-police the handful of times we had people who went after others unfairly, attacked their children. Four states and phones and comments. Wow. Okay. There's a lot more signs than we're right now. Especially. Yeah, but nobody's night was put on. No, I'm not that dumb. I mean, just look dumb, but I'm not that dumb. This guy is okay. Paragraph. And these conversations is also .com or text the word random to 511-511. Random to is that it's not on my alt. It felt ever lose their shop skims.
I said the second show wasn't
so right. I'm acting like a wife.
You are. You are such a whiny bitch sometimes.
I'm usually not. You just hit a nerve. You're right. I'm acting like a wife who will not let it go. And what about the remote? Matt, you never let me have the remote.
And you say you don't understand.
I'm going to my mother's
marriage.
All right. So this is about it's about the gig economy. The economy where they also call it the remote economy. Okay, so you can call it remote work. What's really remote is any chance of getting health insurance. What are Uber and Lyft but Americanized rickshaws? It's not like it's what anyone wants to do. No one ever had a friend throw up in the backseat and say, gosh, I hope someday I get to make a career out of this. And then there's OnlyFans, which in 2021 swelled from 12 million to 85 million users. And if you're a little behind and don't know what OnlyFans is, don't worry. It's the side hustle your daughter is using to pay off her college debt. It's just a platform where you can share recipes or maybe your poetry. Yeah, you can do that on OnlyFans, but no one does. It's women showing their vaginas to men who are masturbating. That's what we have, a kind of a masturbation economy. And that's my question is, women have become so cynical about men and the economy is so bad for them that so much of this economy revolves around horny guys and women who are, I don't think they really want to be on OnlyFans doing that. Would you? No. But that's sort of where our economy has sent young women who, combined with the fact that they're, for very good reason, so cynical about men that their idea is kind of, look, men are shit, so I'm going to get paid a little bit to begin with. That's only fair. Now, here's the crux of it to me. Prostitution is a term we apply across the way. It doesn't just apply to sex.
This is Bill Maher, B-Master. This is called Club Random Podcast on YouTube. I'll pin the link.
You can prostitute
It's with Matt Gates.
yourself.
Released 4 hours ago.
Politics.
You're getting something fresh off the press.
anything. It means doing something you hate for money. That's what it means. It didn't sound to me like the women you were with hated it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between sex for money and sex and money. And if you start to blur that line, we're going to need a lot more fucking prisons in this country.
Right.
But I want to make a point about what you just read, that passage, because I think there's something that supersedes the horniness economy. And I'm being serious about this, and it's the loneliness economy.
Yes.
I think that we are in a true epidemic of loneliness.
But they go together, horny and lonely.
But I think one is actually more powerful, and it's not the horny.
You're correct. There are many guys who just want the prostitute to talk to them, or the stripper.
Yeah, so I have a friend who, she's a female creator on OnlyFans, and we were having lunch, and I was inquiring as to like what it's like what are these superficial relationships, and she described having multiple AI chatbots running at all times just to like interact with these people over text, and that was as economically productive as some of the on-camera activities. And I was amazed by that. And she ascribed it to the deep loneliness that these schmucks are feeling and the fact that it created that connection.
Don't call them schmucks. They're down on their luck enough.
I don't know, man.
Some sympathy?
I think that we wallow in our own expressions of sympathy, and so I'm just on the other side of it.
Yeah, you know what? You're right. Incels is what you've heard that term.
Yeah,
it stands for involuntarily celibate, which what I used to just call I can't get laid. But my strategy wasn't to like join a club with other fucking losers who can't get laid. My strategy, like in college when I never got laid, was to masturbate and plot how I could.
Yeah, but that would have to be before.
He was a plotter.
Because afterwards, the brain cells wouldn't be all that firing.
I was a.
You know what my strategy was?
Champion.
Go hang out with your friends who are out getting laid.
Right.
And then there's going to be somebody in the group that doesn't end up with one of them, and you could be that second option.
So people want to know two basic things.
Okay.
One, was he ever with an underage girl?
No.
Okay, I know you said that, and if the Justice Department had any evidence, and again, people are going to attack me, what are you doing? I'm not defending Matt Gaetz. I'm telling the truth as to what it is. And if you don't want to hear the truth, you're the hack. The Justice Department, this was Biden's Justice Department, declined. I can't believe Biden's Justice Department wouldn't have wanted to get you if there was something. So the fact that they said, we got nothing, tells me something, that they had nothing. Now, I don't know what anybody does behind closed doors. There's lots of scandals about lots of people, but I got to go with what.
No criminal.
So I put that aside.
Okay.
Second thing they want to know is what he was doing considered prostitution. So that's what we're talking about now. And I couldn't agree with you more. Like the Beverly Hills housewife who really hates her husband now, but sticks around and fucks him a few times a year because she doesn't want to give up.
No, his Club Random podcast is huge. He's been going hardcore on this thing. I've been watching it. I would say like in the beginning, but I've dropped off. But his RFK assassination shit was huge. If you sort by most popular videos, how RFK was assassinated with Robert F. Kennedy, that was 1 year ago today, which is kind of amazing because if you remember where we were last year, I mean, we hadn't even begun getting into Trump, and Kennedy was out there lifting the veil on government involvement in the assassination of his uncle.
The big house. To me, that's much more prostitution.
So say what you want about Bill Maher, but this guy, he's a stoner. So whatever gets said, gets said. There's no filtration, really.
That is textbook doing something you hate just for the money. Same thing if he stays with her for the same reason, because he can't afford to get divorced. That's prostitution. But, okay, I wrote down the quote. There is this.
He's a huge stoner.
Okay. Well, first of all, you said giving someone money.
I think he's been smoking pot for like his whole career.
You're dating that they didn't ask for. That's prostitution now? So, yeah, okay, that's your exact quote. But there's this in a text. I guess this is from your girlfriend at the time, talking about you and your wingman. The guys are a little short this week. If it can be more of a customer appreciation week, Matt. Now, were there coupons involved? I just have to ask the tough questions.
See, this is amazing.
Were there coupons?
Bill,
Okay.
this is a text message.
So how does he spin it? And you can also analyze body language on this. I mean, this is dealing with some pretty important topics because, anyways.
Neither sent nor received. Another person is sending this message, presumably about me, to tell other women that they shouldn't ask for money. It sounds like the person who sent that message really wanted to be the great recipient of any generosity and didn't want her friends to also be the recipient of that generosity. You're telling me that makes me some sort of criminal? I didn't send this message. I didn't receive this message. I'm referenced in it because one woman is telling other women, "Hey, there's no generosity for you."
So the phrase "customer appreciation week," you never knew that before you saw it in this text. Okay, what about this one?
His body language. No.
Add to cart. No, I'm sure it does not say that.
This guy is married now, so what I find amazing is that he is on here talking about getting young pussy and having to address these questions. If I was his wife, I'd be like, holy fuck. Because when your wife is away and you're on a podcast with Bill Maher, you kind of see who your husband, who what he's really all about, which it's just normal shit, really. But anyways, I'm just playing the role of an idiot. CB Master, I'll never be popular like Bill Maher, which is kind of unfortunate. Like, no one's even watching my YouTube right now, so it's like this career is of live streaming Bill Maher. I don't think it's gonna make it.
Drive-by. There's something about something was just a drive-by. What's a drive-by?
Was that a message I sent?
I don't know. I was stoned when I wrote this. Okay, but there was also, they said you met women on seeking arrangements.
No, actually,
sugar dating.
Okay, so I've never had a dating profile on any website, on any dating app. When this came out,
why does it say that?
Well, it's false. And by the way, the reason I can tell you it's false is when the media was reporting that I was meeting women on seeking arrangements, no less than Seeking Arrangements came out with a statement that said Matt Gaetz has never been on our site. He's never had a profile here. He has never met any women on our site. So if Seeking Arrangements themselves are saying this is false, I have to combat these things in the media that are not true. And nobody loses their reporter license for saying stuff that's false. It's just the information ecosystem.
Well, here's what I'm going to say to that. One, I never read that in the stories about you. What you just told me, which absolutely could be because they left it out because they do it all the time. It's one of my biggest complaints about the media is that I never, you say you're not lying. Well,
I know you weren't here earlier, but he said that the left-wing liberal lunatics hate him with a passion and he welcomes their hate.
But you can also lie by omission. You cherry pick.
And he believes that he doesn't believe the media at all.
Both sides to feel like I have any knowledge of anything. And that just sucks, except for my show, which is always even-handed. Okay, so I didn't know that. So that's either because the media lied to me or somebody on the internet, if they're going to say that.
This is like a debunking show.
You're going to look bad, but I assume you wouldn't say that.
I want to know if Trump actually slept with Stormy Daniels. Like, if that whole thing was fake and we went through all that and that fucking lawyer, what's-his-face, is in jail, like, did Trump really fuck Stormy Daniels? Because if he didn't, and it's all fake news, which I don't believe, I think he probably did. I mean, anyways, you see what I'm saying? Like, we want to know the truth about the sex.
It couldn't be backed up. Okay. Also, this is in your defense. This is another thing from an article, again, in I think, Washington Post. The committee found two women, 27 and 25, who did not consider the relationships transactional. So that's a direct quote. Again, hacks. I'm just reading what I read. Did you read that one?
I did. Sounded scandalous. Me dating a 25-year-old woman and a 27-year-old woman and having a non-transactional relationship.
Look who you're talking to. You don't know the half of it. Okay, so the other.
So Bill Maher says you don't know the half of it, meaning that he has like slept around with prostitutes,
This is an interesting quote.
escorts.
The committee, this is the ethics committee, okay, typically refrains from releasing the findings after a member's resignation. I did not know that until I read it in the article. The committee typically refrains from releasing the findings if you've quit already. So why did they make an exception for you? What is your, you must have bitterness about that.
Well, I don't actually, because I know in
Come
Washington.
on,
No,
just
Bill,
admit that.
no, everything goes out in Washington anyway. If you think that this document wasn't going to be released in one form or the other, then you don't understand how the leak ecosystem works in that place. Everything leaks. So other people were more worked up about that than I was, to be honest. I have a lot of enemies on the Republican side, more so than most Republican members, because I killed the golden goose. Kevin McCarthy raised $1 billion in special interest money and distributed that among a couple hundred Republicans. That makes you a lot of fucking friends. And the ethics committee is one of only 3 committees in the whole Congress that the speaker appoints directly. It doesn't go through the steering committee process. Ethics, rules, and intelligence. And so everybody on the ethics committee were Kevin McCarthy's asshole buddies, one of whom who voted to release it, the Republicans, was donating to my primary opponent. So I wasn't exactly being judged by some non-biased arbiter. These were people with an axe to grind against me.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
That's life.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to like... Kevin McCarthy, I really want to defend that guy. I mean, I always thought he was a huge asshole and not that bright.
Did you? You thought it? See, because I actually always found him to be a gregarious person.
I don't know. If he was here talking to me, I'd have a different opinion
I bet
too.
you'd like him.
Yeah, but I feel like he's much more of a square than you are.
Well, that would encompass a lot of people, I think.
Hey, you know.
But where you get me wrong, man, where I took exception with you, and I was always a huge fan of yours, because when I got to you used to always have Joe Scarborough on, and Joe Scarborough was my congressman.
Yeah.
I was a huge Joe Scarborough fan. We were really close, even when I was 12, 14 years old. And so I would be able to stay up late at night and watch content that otherwise would have been deemed too irreverent for me, because Joe Scarborough was on.
Sure.
And then that created a permission structure for me to continue to watch your show, because, Joe has been on that show. It can't be too bad for me to watch. Yeah. So he was our guy for a long time.
I still like him. I mean, you guys went ape shit when he went to Mar-a-Lago 2 days after you.
I think that's great.
By the way, of course you do, because the criticism was that he was kissing the ring. I think 2 days after the election is a little early. It did give that signal. Give it a week, Joe. Okay, but I like Joe. My problem with people who take media jobs is that, they start out, very often on MSNBC this happens, they start out as the conservative. And of course, on MSNBC, you can be only so conservative. They don't really have your type that wouldn't be on it. But they have the Nicole Wallaces and the people, Michael Steele, the people, usually they hate Trump.
It's the country club conservatives, not the hunting club conservatives.
It's the anybody but Trump conservatives, right? Which is does not look. I'm an anybody but Trump guy too, but it doesn't represent the country or the party, so it's bullshit. But okay, so they start out as that, but they're also conservative. Nicole Wallace was Bush's
she was out there, cheerleading the Iraq War.
Right. And the longer they're there and the more time they see MSNBC on the paycheck, the more they become not just anti-Trump, but now they're just totally in league with, and I said, look, I don't want people to become more conservative generally, but when looks to me like the paycheck is dictating your politics, I do have a problem with it.
Well, they're enslaved by their audience, because they see what
everybody is,
what turns off their audience, what turns on their audience, and that becomes the thing that turns them on as well. But even when we say conservative, liberal, right, left, we are in a time of realignment right now. I think unlike any other time you've been in the media. who is the pro-war party? Who is the pro-free speech party?
Yeah.
Who is the pro-free trade party?
Who's the stick up their ass party?
Right.
That's the biggest one in my world.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the stuff that used to get laughs because it was the moral majority doing it, stick up their ass stuff.
Yeah.
You know, Pat Robertson, who was the other, Jerry Falwell.
This was your
all those
thing.
purple Teletubbies, you know, are gay.
Well, the Clinton thing.
And then who became the stick up their ass people?
Yeah, the left.
The left.
Well, and I mean, you're who taught me about oral sex because
You're welcome.
the Clinton.
You're welcome, Mrs. Gage.
The whole Clinton Ken Starr report really put your critique of the stick in the mud, stick up your ass, contingent of politics in the forefront. But like right now, there are times I see the political landscape where I have more in common with the populist leftists than I do the centrists in my own party. You know, on matters of like government surveillance.
Right.
I team up with Ilhan Omar more than I team up with the Republicans on the Intelligence Committee. On war powers.
You're talking about Elon Omar?
Ilhan Omar, yeah.
Oh, you said it funny.
Well, yeah, you'd be surped how
Elon
often.
Omar.
Ilhan.
I don't like her. Oh, is that how, am I saying it
Yeah,
wrong?
it's Ilhan.
My bad. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to the prophet. Peace and blessings upon him. I meant no disrespect. Whew, that's getting out of hand.
Yeah, I would probably cut that. But I think, I don't know where that's going to lead you, bro, but could be dicey.
No, I mean, I've been down that road before.
Do you,
You have to be, I mean, Zuckerberg just made a big deal about free speech, and I'm behind him on it because I think he's right. He's doing a kind of a mea culpa, like we fact check too much. And look, is there a lot of misinformation? Yeah, but also misinformation has become like a code word for just stuff we don't like. You know, COVID started in a lab. Well, we just don't think that should be out there. So that's well, it wasn't misinformation. Shit like that. Not that
well,
tell
and the
you.
stuff that's true. Like this, like when people were posting the true side effects of some of these vaccines, you had folks in the White House pressuring social media platforms to get that taken down, and it wasn't even false, but it was just derogatory to the narrative that they were trying to spin at the time. That should not be allowed. And I think the more you decentralize that away from the fact checker model to the community notes model, the more you make it durable to that type of government influence.
Yeah. So if you were in the Justice Department, like what would be your number one?
Number one,
yeah, what would
be defang the weaponization.
When you shop in the Jewel Osco app, you can count on us to choose fresh produce, guaranteed.
Stop the whole they go after us. I really mean that. Because if I'd have gone in there and done that stuff...
You really think the FBI is that partisan? Because I always thought of the FBI as mostly Republicans, mostly squares, guys who iron their underwear, you know, real straight arrows. The idea that it's infiltrated with all these like super radical left-wing types who are out to get Trump, you don't think they had a reason with all the communications that were unprecedented between Trump and Russia? You don't think they had a reason to start that Operation Crossfire investigation? I mean, his fucking campaign manager, Manafort, was completely in bed with the Russians. Michael Flynn and all these people in the administration who had all these discussions with Russians, and then just always Russians. We don't know any Russians. They picture him with like 8 Russians.
It's at
least merited an investigation.
It feels silly to talk about now that like Trump was some asset of Putin when it was only Trump in the White House where Putin did invade another country. But in terms of when
that's a good point.
The investigation turned illegitimate, like okay, I guess you have reasonable suspicion around anything. But once they were applying for surveillance based on information that the FBI already knew was coming from Russian intelligence subsources, that's when they jumped the shark for me. They were signing FISA renewals when they knew that Steele was relying on people who were
Yes.
Russian intelligence people.
There was a report. Was that the Horowitz report,
yeah,
or was that the Durham report?
That was Horowitz.
Okay, one of them was about the FBI, and it did find errors. Yes, it did. Absolutely. No.
And doesn't it
they
bother
were
you
not
when an
clean.
FBI lawyer is pledging fidelity to the resistance while changing an email?
That doesn't mean that there wasn't something there also.
Yeah.
I mean, to go back to politically incorrect days, O.J. Simpson did kill his ex-wife, and the police were also corrupt. Sometimes
But
both
do you think
things
they
can
do you
be
think
true.
they framed him? Like, do you think they?
O.J.?
Yeah, they took active steps to frame him.
No, I don't. That's
Man.
what I'm saying. I'm saying
They had their own problems, admittedly.
yes, and that's the analogy with the FBI. There were problems, and the FISA thing was the most glaring of those errors. But
You guys
but also he was having contacts. Just to say publicly, Russia, if you're listening, I mean, nobody ever did that. George Stephanopoulos said, if a foreign power sent you intel, oh, well, I think you should look at it. No, you shouldn't. You should go to the FBI and say, a country who is not called America is trying to influence our elections. That's what you do. You go to the FBI. You don't look at it.
You know what? That would be nice. But, Bill, as everything else in our world has become globalized, trade, information, our elections have become globalized too. And the notion that the way we're going to be resilient to that is tattling to the FBI every time, it may work, but when I see the way these global corporations that rely on sovereign wealth funds of other countries are pouring cash into super funds, for Democrats and Republicans, it's like, but Don Jr. met with some lady in Trump Tower. There's such a foreign influence factor in our elections now. It's such a high level. I don't know that there's anything,
especially on your side.
Oh, come on, man! You don't think that the Chinese were funding the whole Penn Center at the Biden Center at Penn?
Manafort was trading polling information with a guy in the GRU. The Democrats didn't do that.
Paul Manafort, despite a lofty title, was a very big player in what was going on with Trump. You know why I know
How
that?
do you know that?
Because he had one specific task. We were dealing with a faithless electors problem at the Republican convention, where we would win a state, and then Ted Cruz was effective at using the party apparatus to substitute his delegates for Trump's delegates. And it wasn't like we'd had a recent convention fight. And one of the only guys around from the 80s that ever planned for a convention fight was Paul Manafort. So he demands this lofty title. Then he works the convention problem, and at the same time is trying to showcase to the oligarchs on whatever side, in Russia, Ukraine, that he was this made guy in Trump world. And that was messy and should not have happened. But I think, you talk about whataboutism, to say that that's a parallel to the tens of millions of dollars that flow into our elections from foreign sovereign wealth funds through U.S. companies and super PACs.
Yeah, it's both sides.
It is both sides.
Based on a ruling from a Republican Supreme Court.
I think the ruling in Citizens United was wrong.
Well, great to meet you.
Yeah,
I'm having a good time.
I'm glad, man. I'm glad.
You don't smoke pot anymore, right?
I won't with you. It would mess with all the Molly I took on the way here.
Weren't you one of the most forthright ones to want to put forward legalization for pot?
I'm very pro marijuana reform. I wrote Florida's first, second, and third marijuana laws.
It's just failed there.
Well, the vote on going from medical to adult use. Now in Florida, you have to go.
It was on the ballot. It
didn't fail.
How could fucking nutty, crazy, bath salt, alligator,
don't with
Florida
the trash
not be illegal for pot?
Well, we don't allow the homeless to degrade infrastructure to the point where it hurts the firefighters.
Different issue. And the liberals have completely fucked up that issue. It's in my brilliant special that's on probably now or just was. Is anybody else seeing this? I talk about it, liberal versus woke as far as homeless goes. No, I mean, trust me, the liberals have a lot to answer for, and I call them out on all of it, which again is why they don't like me, and I don't give a fuck.
You talk a lot. You know what? I wonder if you give a fuck because you talk about it a lot.
I do.
You advertise how much it affects you by talking about it.
No,
because I don't even.
No.
I view you as a libertarian.
No, all I'm doing is reminding people of my brand. My brand is almost unique, not completely, but like I'm glad that everybody is like so in their echo chamber because it leaves this big space in the middle for someone who will do that. People will watch this. If they watch the whole thing, they'll go, wow, what an honest conversation. Like not like anyone I've ever seen with any politician. Like that's with just two guys talking. And Bill was open. He didn't fucking hate that guy. But it wasn't about politics. And then we got over it just like a married couple does. And then we just
you kept nagging me about it, just like a married couple.
And when I think you're full of shit about stuff on your side, I call you out on that. And I'm also admitting, and I hope you are, I think I do it more than you, when my side is wrong, and they are wrong a lot, and that's why they lost this election, and I tell them every day, you're just digging the hole deeper.
Anybody who can't point out where their side is wrong is just a vessel through which others operate.
Where's your side most wrong?
My side's wrong on marijuana reform. My side is wrong on some elements of climate change. My side is wrong when they try to extend the surveillance state at any cost. My side is wrong when they try to go and build Jeffersonian democracies out of sand and blood and Arab militias in the Middle East and convert every Central Asian cave into.
I got to give that to Trump.
Yeah,
he really doesn't like war.
No, he
and
really
that's
doesn't.
not a bad thing. It's ironic. Like, who was the last president who really didn't like war? Jimmy Carter, the one they just buried. Yeah. He never fired a shot. It's funny that they have that in common, isn't it?
It is. And
two guys who have nothing else in common.
And it's not that Trump doesn't have militaristic tendencies. Like, I don't think he has any problem with torture or a really powerful, strong military. But right now, like, one of the reasons we should be anti-war is because I'm not sure we would win very many of them. And that's not a criticism of the amazing men and women in the military, but the shit we build doesn't work. And I was on the Armed Services Committee for 8 years, and I saw the way what we spend money on is driven by what general is leaving to get what board seat or what contract with Raytheon, Lockheed, L3. We've allowed all this consolidation in the defense. Okay, the F-35. The F-35.
I loved it when Musk went after the F-35. I had said on my show 2 days earlier, I said, they're talking about cutting shit. Let's see what happens when they go after the Pentagon. And then he did it 2 days later. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm not pre-hating anything you guys are going to do. Not pre-hating.
Well, and Hegseth is uniquely critical of those things because these millennials who went and fought these wars and believed they were righteous and meaningful, who came more to the anti-war side, like Tucker was a big pro-war guy, came to an anti-war guy.
He's just cray now. Come on, bro. Come on, the Moscow stuff, defending Syria, defending Assad. I mean, you got to be kidding. But Hegseth, he looks like he is having a good time. Let's get him over here.
He'd be a good hang. But
I bet he would.
But
what?
Don't get me started on the accusations against Hegseth because they are so ridiculous. But I want to get back to the point about the military.
He seems like a guy who does not know how to treat women.
You're telling me
you treat him nice. You're taking him to Broadway shows.
You're telling me
you do the and money thing, which is great.
Some lonely housewife fucks Pete Hegseth in a hotel, then has to explain something to her husband the next day, alleges rape. I can't on that. But back to the military spending. The F-35 costs $100 million to copy.
Oh.
You know what percentage of them are fully operationally capable today? 29%.
They don't work in the rain.
Would you like to receive a discount or pay the full price?
Full price. Kind of ridiculous, right? Well, so's not taking advantage of an AARP membership with access to hundreds of programs and services like family caregiving and the Fraud Watch Network, plus all these discounts. And your membership matters, as AARP advocates for healthcare, Social Security, and more. And here's a ridiculous offer. Just $15 the first year with automatic renewal and a second membership free.
If something costs $100 million, it should definitely work more than 29% of the time.
But also the great thing Musk said was they're obsolete. We're in the age of drones, assholes. We're in the age of drones. Why are you building fighter planes? If you guys can go in and really do that kind of shit, and like wherever this country is really constipated, just rotor-rooter this kind of shit away, I will have great respect for it.
I hope we achieve that. When I was sitting around Mar-a-Lago with Elon talking about how we're going to do that.
Name dropper.
Elon says the way that we save the military and win the future wars is by designing a mechanism to get drone operators laid. Because the whole culture of the Air Force is the like fighter pilot, macho, the Navy Top Gun. And so like if you had that same archetype for the 240-pound guy who like lives in his mom's basement but knows how to operate a drone, if we can get that guy some pussy, we are gonna smoke China.
Okay, well, we've got the OnlyFans situation. I feel there's
The loneliness situation.
I feel like there's a way to combine the OnlyFans ladies with the drone operators and make this happen, because there's really nothing more pathetic
for America.
I mean, I'm not a technological guy, so like I wouldn't even know how to get on OnlyFans. I mean, I don't really know how to get on. I don't know ChatGPT. I'm just of a different.
You don't use AI?
No, I'm just not. I'm just of a different generation. Okay, I'm old school. Like pad and pen. Sorry, that's who I am. But what I've read about OnlyFans is just, it's like I can't believe what I'm reading, that these guys must know that this girl is not really their girlfriend and doesn't really give a shit about them, and very often isn't even that girl. It's some fat guy in the Philippines
who is a chatbot that's running.
Well, they call them chatters. Like that's the person who's communicating. The fact that they willingly convince themselves that this is some sort of actual relationship where they're like tipping them by the minute, another 5 minutes, and
just for the chat sometimes.
And of course you're not there in the room with them. It's not you're not fucking them in any way.
They're fucking you.
Their wallet. The fact that so many millions of men are satisfied that this is some sort of actual relationship. This generation. Somebody told me a scary story about. She was telling me about her younger sister who's like 17 and has a boyfriend for the first time, and they were like, "Yeah, bring him over for dinner." No, the kids just want to be on the phone together all the time, FaceTiming. And when the girl goes to sleep at night, she leaves the phone on. FaceTime all night, and so does the boyfriend, and they're sleeping together virtually with the phone on all night. And I said, "You have to pay for this?" And she said, they made a big mistake when they gave these kids unlimited data.
Yeah. Because that shit wouldn't have flown in my day, because your parents would have been like, "You are on your roaming minutes."
You have kids yet?
I've got sort of an adopted son.
Okay. How old?
Right now, he's 20.
Okay, so he's a little
23 years old.
A little past this.
Yeah.
But what do you make of a generation that is doing that can't even turn off the phone when they go to sleep?
I think it's worse than that. I've been reading the literature on the people who get the AI boyfriend or girlfriend that they know is AI, that they know is not an actual human. And they did these studies, and when you allow the person to interact with that bot, and then you cut off the bot, they have sincere feelings of remorse over a breakup with a being that never existed. It's like Manti Te'o shit.
It's not that different than OnlyFans, where the girl isn't really there. But you're right.
That's a great point, actually.
It is one small level past.
Right.
But it's basically...
Are we getting that, though? Aren't there going to be the AI relationships that...
I don't know.
Define human romance?
I'm so glad I'm in the generation I'm in. Really, even being almost 69 years old, which obviously has its bad parts, like you're not going to be around this long, I still would not trade it. I mean, I wouldn't want to be what these kids are going through. I mean, and their sort of virtual existence.
When my generation, you met people.
Are you Gen X or are you millennial?
I'm like the first millennial. I'm
that
Xennial. You typically met people at bars. But this generation doesn't even really drink that much.
Even when they're at bars, they're on their phone.
Yes. You couldn't spend that much time on your phone because you were having to hit, the button 3 times to get to the right letter to send a message. But where did your generation, where did you typically go to meet a romantic partner? What was that typical hunting experience for you?
Okay. Well, I mean, I was just bereft of knowledge. I would love it if it was here. I mean, no, I mean, I was a late bloomer. I mean, it's really good I never got married because, like, I needed time to catch up to what a loser I was when I had one girlfriend in high school, and when she dumped me, it was like the worst thing that still in my life ever happened. I was like a wreck for a year. And then so
What did she break up with you over? Was it another guy?
no, I was just being a dick. I was
So
just
you're-
being complacent. You know what it was? I got bored, like we all will do to a certain degree at all times, and it's just how you handle it. And I handled it because it was the first time like a dick. So then I went to Cornell, which it was like the worst possible atmosphere to ever try to get laid. It was like the Ivy Leagues had just started even admitting girls, so it's like a 5-to-1 ratio, and I didn't know how to get laid. So it was just.
It's not like the Cornell atmosphere had a whole lot else going on in the town.
Cornell's a shit place to go to school anyway. You get a great education, but it's cold and competitive. It's just a bad vibe up there. It really is. I never went back. So that was terrible. Then when I finally got out, then I went and moved to New York City, and being poor and a pot dealer trying to be a comedian, also not a great formula to get laid in New York.
Or being a drug dealer wasn't a good formula to get laid.
Not pot, or like I was selling small amounts to like guys at the club and the band. But when I came out here at 27, it was like, I always say, this town sucked my cock on the first date. I just loved it from the beginning, and I got along better with the girls, and I had a little game, and then you would go to bars. That's what it was, and I was still such a loser. I remember I had a friend who I didn't really like that much, but he was good at talking to girls. That's really one of the key signs of a loser. You got to have a guy, a wingman. Oh, I was going to mention this guy, Joel Greenberg. I'm very curious. He comes up in the articles. And I saw Megyn Kelly talking about him. Again, I had not heard this because, again, you only get one half of the story. First of all, what was your relationship with him? He sounds like you guys are asshole buddies.
It was someone I deeply regret having spent any time with, but he was in politics in Central Florida. He became a social acquaintance of mine, and he had a vision on crypto, and he had a vision on all these different things. He was the tax collector. He became the first tax collector in the country to take crypto. So I was sort of enamored with the cutting edge nature of how he was going about things. And what I sort of learned through this is
he's in jail.
He's in jail. He's in jail, and before anything would be, one of the things he's in jail for is lying about another person, about having sexual contact with someone who was underage. But what I learned is, if you're around people and they're doing stuff, and even if you're not doing that stuff, if you're the most famous person or you're the most powerful person, if shit breaks bad, then everybody's going to point the finger at you, and that's what happened with Joel Greenberg. By the way, if the way I go down is drinking with Bill Maher at Club Random, I'm comfortable with that. Ginger, if you can hear this, you should go.
Well, you just made up for that gap at the beginning. That's a very sweet thing to say. I appreciate it. No,
you're one of these not boomer. You're Gen
X,
right?
Boomer. You're a boomer. Gen X. Oh, thank you. That is so kind of you. No, I'm totally.
There's a whole echelon of you guys who became cult heroes to my generation. It was like you, Lewis Black, Norm Macdonald, rest his soul, one of the funniest people to ever live.
Yeah.
It was the calling out of the mores of the time that developed a really sincere following.
Yeah. No, I love it when I have fans in every generation, but especially as it gets younger, because
is it your liberal fans are older and your conservative fans are younger? Would be my guess.
Yeah, probably. I never looked into it that much, but that's probably what it is. But I also, I hear a lot about the guys on the golf course love you, because again, I never have been afraid to speak truth about what's going on the left. And what's going on the left, I get it. I do not like Trump, but I never hate anybody who votes for him. I totally get it. I get why people go,
Would you agree that the two greatest politicians? Well, Clinton might have fit in there, but Obama and Trump.
Absolutely.
Right, and I do
As
believe.
a politician,
Yeah.
he's non-pariah. But so is Hitler. As a politician, I'm not saying he's Hitler. He's not.
Well, you're also not saying Obama's Hitler. You're making a point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Trump, let me just be clear, because this
Trying
is the
to
thing that
figure
people
out
do.
This is where I'm getting pissed off, because everybody's incident of single set parenthood is different. Completely different. And to paint, that's like saying that all black people are the same, right? Every single parent is not the same. There are people who have lost their partners, their parents of their other.
There is kind of this strange mix of, is the country, ambling toward a particular candidate? Is the mood right? And that does play a lot into who's going to be selected. Back. Sorry. And I think that, by 2020, Kamala Harris, it was like her moment to kind of shine. She outshined all the other debaters on the stage against Joe Biden. It was kind of clear that it was Joe Biden's moment to be president. But as far as a vice president goes, to say nothing of, I guess he did say, like, if I have a vice president, it's going to be a black woman.
Psychological burden on yourself. I had a young brother from that interned for me years ago. A smart guy, but he was so hyper. He's like, man, I'm glad, I'm glad I got a brother. What's good?
No, but the regular, I know that some of the regulars, but then like the no, that's all. All right, that's whatever. But the regulars, they got it on camera of who actually tried to break in. They try to jimmy the locks and whatnot with a screwdriver or whatever. So they freaking just started. But some of the regulars are so cool, but then some of them are super sketchy but rude as fuck. I'm not gonna lie. I don't like them. I don't understand why they keep on coming on my shift. Like, come on and sit that I'm not here because apparently you don't like me too. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just.
The example that we.
What a language model is.
Wait, hold on, buddy. Language models are not artificially intelligent. Language models have nothing to do with AGI. You sound
No
model
is, but the way it's processed is.
Language models
the inference is where the intelligence comes in, big guy.
No, it's
not the training.
It's inference from human training of communication and language observation. That's what a language model does.
Dude.
AGI has nothing to do with
a blog about someone on a blog said you can groom adults.
What?
Okay, so I'm guilty. I was grooming young black men to get education. What's going on? Blue melanin needs to finish college and stop smoking so much weed and being an idiot on purpose when he doesn't need to be an idiot.
He's not following Shake. That's odd.
Because they're all competing for the same woman.
Sure. And why is this weird people fucking going? Hold on.
It's so sad. That's what's happening.
What did he do?
Listen to Lizzie. I don't share his surname. No, but the other one I do.
Okay, so the other one has the same name as you.
The surname as my mom. Yes.
And isn't willing to open his ears and listen, and especially accept the possibility of being wrong. That's very feminine.
You don't think that black women are out of order today?
No, I don't. Not as much as anybody else. I don't single out black women.
Black Elon's here.
Fuck yeah.
He black now.
Before the civil rights era.
You black now, bro.
What?
Why aren't black women marrying at higher rates than today?
Look at the black men they have to choose from.
Look at that handsome black Elon.
I voted for Donald Trump.
Well, men, we had a different type of man back then as well.
Sorry, hold on. No, stop. Okay, stop, because nobody's gonna sit here and tell me I don't know my history.
We definitely
Huh?
can have.
Hold on, Shy.
No,
Can you hear me?
I don't think so.
Shy, can
I
you
don't
hear
think
me?
they know this
Okay.
attack yet.
Do you know about English common law? Okay, and the body of liberties in the Massachusetts
The
Bay
body of
Colony in
liberties.
1641, which
Jesus,
included provisions
1641.
about inheritance and the rights of illegitimate children.
Good one, Adams.
What about it?
Good one.
Nigga said, what about it?
Good one, Adams.
I'm saying,
Is this theatrical? Is he reading from a
This
script?
became a juridical issue with the Democratic Party. Was the Democratic Party around in 1641?
He's
I
got
want
it.
to invite Aaliyah the train.
Who's like,
He's got a
Trump is
point.
not Hitler. Hitler fought the Russians.
Okay, this is the end of the Matt Gaetz,
I'm
Bill
thinking
Maher
that
club
maybe
run.
your days as a party animal it connected you more with who the American people really are. Is that a fair statement?
Everyone on this stage, including myself, has political policy issues in our minds in which emotions are more of a determining factor than what the actual policy is. That is a dirty little secret of American voting. And it means that if one can resonate with the emotion of the population, in particular in times of social inequality, issues with the economy, those things in our history kind
What
of...
are you really saying, Marshall?
Populist, or as Aaron said, the appeal to the mob. And so...
There's no coherence there. You have to connect something in the beginning of all that to something else, Marshall.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's akin to in the hiring process, like
This is called
you've
Pros
applied
and
for the
Cons of
job, you've
DEI
gotten the
policy.
interview, and there are 2 or 3 rounds of interviews, and you make it to that last round of interviews, and the committee asks you the final question, which is, "What's your greatest weakness?" And if you show up at that moment, it'll kind of
These
dissolve.
people are like reliving the fact that they can't get a job because they can't go through a job interview without annoying the person interviewing them. That's essentially what's happening, is where nobody wants to work with them because everybody knows that they're incompetent.
Best answer to that kind of question. But if you can't answer
This is like a talk therapy session for people that can't get jobs.
Makes the whole house of cards kind of fall apart. And I think people like Kamala Harris, as opposed to Barack Obama, Kamala Harris wasn't able to answer those like pointed questions that are trying to make you reveal some kind of vulnerability about yourself.
You're the
that
now
still comes
politician.
off
I
as straight.
We know that.
Yeah, but you know what? Some people who had personal foibles and follies would then go and be in great moral judgment of others. And for whatever problems I've had in my life, I've never tried to represent that I'm a better person than my constituents.
Yeah,
I just try to be a vessel
I'm saying
for them, for their
you're more
rules.
I think you're more like them. I mean, I don't consider you. Especially having talked to you now, like there are some dirtbags in your party. I mean, George Santos, give me a break. I mean,
George.
What?
Every generation gets the
George
princess
Santos.
and ours was George Santos, taken from us too early.
Okay, well, that's not really a good analogy for Princess Diana. Well, Princess Diana was she a charlatan?
No, it's a joke.
I am a very funny one too. Okay, so but then like who? Lauren Boebert. I mean,
she's a patriot. Lauren Boebert's terrific.
Okay, but she gives hand jobs during musicals.
So what?
I agree.
So what? You're against hand jobs now?
You're taking girls to musicals.
Well, none that I had give me hand jobs, but I not entirely sure I would have turned one down.
That's what they said, and my joke was like, they said, well, Matt Gaetz, he took prostitutes to musicals. I'm like, really? If you're taking a girl to a musical, isn't that payment in itself?
Well, but by the way, think about how fantastical that sounds. That I was bringing prostitutes to Broadway shows. They were my dates.
Right. I know what I'm saying. That is not I don't think people know what a prostitute is. A prostitute is someone, first of all, who has a pimp, okay, who gets hit with a car antenna, who gives blowjobs behind dumpsters. That's a prostitute. And of course, there's high end, but they don't get taken to Broadway shows. Which is my point.
Let me offer a defense of some of the people that you've criticized. I serve with a lot of congressmen and women who live perfect family lives. Never looked the other way. Never done anything other than live a purpose-driven, holy life, and they get that congressional pin on, and they go and sell out the country, and they vote for whoever gives them money, and they vote for whatever lobbyists give them attention. And then there are people who are flawed and irreverent and have tough moments that are caught on TV, but they sincerely do what they think is best for the country. And that's why I had friendships in Congress that a lot of people wouldn't.
This is Matt Gaetz on Club Random Podcast, Bill Maher, 5 hours ago.
I was friends with Ilhan Omar. She and her husband and my wife and I have had dinner together and spent social time together.
I would not have guessed that.
Right. And you know why? Because while I disagree with her strongly on matters of policy, and she would say the same of me,
right,
I at least knew she fucking believed it. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
And say what you want about AOC, she believes what she says. And for like way more than half of them up there, they don't even believe what they're saying. They are just reading scripts that are written.
Are you projecting?
And produced by others. And I resent that more than a substantive disagreement.
I do too. Well, it's been a pleasure, before I evacuate, to talk to you.
I sincerely
it really has.
Yeah,
it's been a pleasure.
One more beef, man. I had. You've called me a bully more than once on your show.
No, I think what we did was we showed you a picture of you and said, he always looks like he has a look on his face like, eat it, nerd.
Yeah, but I am the nerd.
No, but you look different. First of all, you look different in person.
More like a nerd?
No, less. More normal.
Yeah. Well, that always bothered me about your coverage of me because...
you've seen the way they do you on Saturday Night Live?
I know.
That's what they think you look like. That's not what you look like to me right now, looking at you in person. Maybe it is on TV, or people just present differently on TV sometimes.
I'm a weird looking guy.
But you're not.
Oh,
that's the thing. You're not. But I was expecting one. Really.
The Molly must be kicking in right now.
All right. Well, thank you for coming here.
I appreciate it. We should do real time.
I would love to. Would you do it?
Yeah, if
would you do a panel?
I got no fear of your panel or your audience, but sometime you got to do my podcast too.
I will.
All right, I got a podcast coming up, and would love to have you.
I appreciate it.
How do you feel about Trump's appointments?
What?
How do you feel about Trump's appointment so far?
I don't know. Everything looks good to me. If I see a liberal's head explode, then I think it's a good appointment.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, we need fucking independents or like people who aren't part of a succession of fucking, being pieces of shit. Like that fucking piece of shit. There's so many pieces of shit out there.
So are they letting them come in Chicago yet, or ICE?
I saw something on X saying they want like 1,500 arrests a day. Because if you think about how many employees there are of the federal government that work in law enforcement, I mean, shit, 1,500 a day should be like the minimum.
Yeah, that's only going to put $500,000 a year now. So
I know, right?
In 4 years.
It's so crazy because at least there's like at least 3 million people that gotta go. So that's more than 1,500 a day. That's like 5,000 a day. And that's possible based on the number of federal employees. And what's amazing is when Trump says he's going to reassign the IRS to the fucking border, do you know why he can do that? Because all these employees, when you work for these agencies, they get solicited to apply for this generalized FEMA position to become deputized and go work on any natural or major, disaster. And if you have a purchase card, that makes you a more valuable employee because you can purchase items on behalf of the government. So that's why Trump says, fuck it, we'll just reassign them to the border. But they never made those hires. You know how they said they hired 88,000? They never hired anybody. Nobody. They hired nobody. They hired some people, but they didn't hire more what's called CI, criminal investigators. They're the ones who carry the guns.
Armed enforcers.
Yeah. Tax officers, revenue officers do not carry firearms. And, you know, I've worked for Treasury for the past 5 years, so I have some experience, but a lot of people
I'm
just
all
don't.
excited, man. I've been talking to, IO, the one that's a biomolecular engineer up at it's a university in Ontario that starts with a W. It's a big prestigious one. Fuck's it called? But he works up there. He works in biomolecular engineering, and I was asking him yesterday. I was like, "Hey man," I was like, "If I'm 39 years old and I really don't want to go back to petroleum, but I want to get into like artificial intelligence and like IT or something like that, and what would be like the best process to get in to artificial intelligence?" And he was started walking me through it, and he's like, "Well, how much are you looking to make?" And I was like, "Well, I'm like, I'd be okay with like 50, 60 as long as I can be home with my kids and shit." He's like, "Well, that might be a little unrealistic." He's like, the most you're really going to make after a couple of years is like 30,000 a month if you become, open your own business and become like working alongside with the companies and stuff like that to root out like issues within ChatGPT. And I was like, no, I meant like 50, 60 grand a year. He started laughing. He's like, yeah, he's like, you could definitely make that. So he told me some prompts and shit to put into ChatGPT and looked at some certifications.
What are some good prompts?
Okay, you put in ChatGPT and you ask them, hey ChatGPT, if I want to get into artificial intelligence and IT and stuff like that, can you create a quiz for me? And he gives you like 20 questions or something. And he's like, do you have good like attention, or do you get distracted easy? Do you have any experience in this, or are you a novice? And what initially just comes up with the 20 questions, but then I was trying to figure out how to copy it, like write all the shit back in and paste it in. But I was like, hey, can you just ask each individual question to me so we can go through the quiz? And he did that, and then he started walking through all the different shit you can do. It's only like 2 to 4 weeks worth of study, and it's $100. And the job starts out in between 45 to 70,000 a year. And then after like 6 months, you get another cert that goes 85 to 120. Did you fall asleep, Adrian?
No.
No, just fucking with you.
No. Got to figure out, what do I want to do? Do I want to call this chick and say hello, or do I want to go get a pita? Or should I call her on my way to get my pita? That's an even better idea. See, I'm all about killing 2 birds with 1 stone.
With one philosophical stone.
That's right. 2 birds, 1 stone.
Hey, what you could do is call the girl and invite her to meet you to get to that.
No, it's too cold outside. But it's not too cold to go get a chicken shawarma sandwich.
What do you got? What's your favorite place up there for shawarmas?
You're about to find out. Hi, can I place an order for pickup?
Yeah, can I get a name, please?
John?
What can I get for you?
Can I get 2 chicken shawarma pitas?
Okay, anything else?
Can I get 5 falafel?
Yep.
Okay, that's it.
Something else?
Yep.
Okay. Give us about like 10 minutes.
Okay, sounds good. See you soon. Thanks.
Hold on.
She's a cutie pie. 10 minutes to go, and we're gonna shawarma make it. 5 falafel to go, whoa, shawarma's gonna make it. Yeah!
No, I'll say, do you guys have halal brothers up there like they do in New York or no?
Oh, yeah.
Those are so fucking good. They got them down in Houston.
Okay, listen to this.
And the Democrats...
Gildas is still talking?
Right now, they're not ready to jump off the...
Okay, let's see what Adam is saying.
Focus on the individual goals and the prosperity of our indigenous people and focus on that, okay? Everybody else, when it's convenient, seems to give a fuck about black issues when black people in America and worldwide have the biggest mic.
It's a public room called Trump gonna put black people back into slavery.
Okay? That is not a black American.
We'll go in there and invite Aaliyah in. Have you ever met Aaliyah?
But yeah, Adam, I would say for black people in this country, majority of them tend to, from what I've noticed, lean conservative. I'm not very surprised about that. It's more so actually going conservative.
Send me a link to that.
I can't.
Won't let you copy it.
No. Different phone.
Bring your burner in here.
Okay, this message is to Jason Calacanis.
I apologize for getting loud, y'all. I'm just very, passionate about this topic. I believe that there has been an identity theft that has been perpetuated against Black America, and people are misspoken for, and other people speaking out of turn in an identity and in a struggle and a history that does not belong to them.
He looks like Harry from Harry and the Hendersons.
Issue is. So I'm not trying to disrespect anybody from their, ethnic heritage or their country of origin. That's not what this is about. I'm asking people to stop telling me how the hell I should, what color I should be painting the walls in my fucking living room.
Light baby blue, baby boy. Obviously. Light baby blue. Light baby blue. Everybody goes with light baby blue.
If I can find out, it's just gay ass. No, there's this tranny. It's like 6 foot tall black dude named Aaliyah. That motherfucker just goes hard in the paint on Adams.
This iconic hot dog stand from the 1940s is one of the most famous recognizable landmarks in LA. It's one of the last surviving old Hollywood restaurants that you can still eat at. It was then preserved to look just like how it did when it first opened. While the stand looks the same, but many has evolved over the years. It does still include their original item, the 1946 pub, which is split and grilled in a toasted bun with onions and house mustard. They changed ownership in the 70s, and that's marked their 1976 pub as a...
Please don't scroll. I'm just trying to become a big...
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's why I was saying for a lot of people, you should.
This land from Palestine is occupied. Palestine is occupied because of people like you who shake ass for the Zionists.
Yeah. But Syria, you're talking about Palestine, but Syria is occupied too.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Yeah. You act like your country is not occupied, but your country is occupied.
And you did something so clearly wrong. Huh? You did something wrong, so just apologize. It's not a big deal. He'll forgive you. He loves you, right? He loves you. Just apologize. Everything's gonna be okay. Every little thing's gonna be alright. Just go to your husband. Say
Everyone,
sorry and suck his
welcome to the Adrian.
BBC and the plumbing. If you know that there's no leak in the fucking plumbing,
there you go. How do you know there's no leak?
Well, maybe you should look for a leak before you assume that there's a leak.
They've been looking for 4 years.
And have they found one in the IG's offices?
They got rid of them all.
They haven't found one.
You don't know that.
Yeah, you don't know.
How do you know they found one? Yeah, all right, so the horrors, right? Like every single report that this dude just came out with, Donald Trump said that this dude is supposed to be the oversight of the FBI, and he allowed them to go rampant with these indictments and da-da-da-da-da, and then the investigations were all... That was slow walked, and this person just said...
Boom this room right now. Boom. Hey, take that account. Hey, take everything. Go in the chat.
Jay Blanco! My boy Jay Blanco in the house! Freddie Roosevelt!
So I'm going to go to the chat, and I'm going to show you on MTV Crib. And then I'm logging out. I'm with my bitch. Fake ass. I will log out. I don't care. So, because that's my bitch account. Respect my bitch. It don't get put out. It's my bitch account. So, you got to put on a clubhouse.
You don't even know Freddie Roosevelt, do you?
Adrian, John.
Johnny
boy.
No, but Brandon, here's the point. See, but a nigga ain't talk shit to me. It's so bad. You don't tell my bitch to let you talk.
Alvante Patton, Flame Shooter, Lady Bird, Renee Burgess, 8 Cat, Portia,
No, I didn't, bitch. I got the message. No, I didn't. You lying.
Brianna,
Make that count.
Junior, Artist,
Boy, I ain't gonna lose no money, no sleep.
D Nasty,
Fucking her baby daddy.
Yo Jaleel,
You're lying.
Teammates the only,
How? I'm not talking
Top is sweetest super cat, you long time. Mami, Dulce Mujosita, Mami. Money, Ghost Love Money.
I don't care.
Smiley Daddy Brasco, Bill Gates 200.
Nothing. That's the ether.
Bud, the coolest.
Give me some pussy. I want to give me some pussy for my birthday. Niggas, a birthday 6.
I know, I gotta go.
Yeah, you gotta go. Hey, follow me on your burners so I can go.
Oh, now it's just generating hilarious memes.
Let me check your profile.
And, you know, it's just...
Kalatri, man, that might be a little hard to find. I don't know if I can actually maintain focus to type that in. A little hard to spell. C-O-L-A-T-Z.
So,
I'm friends with you already. Yeah.
What's your burner?
I don't want to say it publicly. Eric's listening.
There's going to be another evolution or another generation of AI that's going to come out that will be even better than this one. That's going to really take.
I'll whisper it.
And even
Earth
Sam Altman has said,
get ready for the Roger Mayhem
Frontier, which is
Yeah, part 7's coming out tonight.
newer version, of course, of trying to keep the train high.
Oh yeah, I've been listening to the last 4. Unfortunately, there's some really good content.
With silence, please.
Calling the chairperson the day of is just insulting, and then giving organizer
by this indiscretion of Donald Trump.
Oh shit,
Yeah,
Eric's in the house.
It is what it is. I mean, those people are not being deported back to Panama. Why? Because they did not come from Panama. So I'm glad that he's, putting them right back where they belong, down in South America.
No, it's because America's about to go back and take the Panama Canal back and, fuck everybody else that's trying to think they control it.
Doc, you ever been to Panama?
Does a cow shit in the woods?
Right. So that's.
Come on, pretty mama.
I'm not letting anybody
I don't care who is doing better than me. There you go. There you go, Doc. I want to see the mule.
All right, I'm gonna go get my sandwich. I'm gonna leave Dr. Adams. I hope he doesn't take me.
There is certain case law.
I hope we don't have any dead air here. I'll be back. Gonna go get the shawarmas, boys.
However,
And a little orange juice to wash it down.
As a sovereign government, as it always has been.
Just say it's for the boys.
The United States was down in Panama. There were certain
Good call, bro. I forgot about the red spice. Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah. It does not change the sovereignty of that said country.
Shine!
world premiere.
They kicked
so
me?
From what I understand, Eric, there were certain metrics that, and you understand what I mean by metrics. There are certain performance metrics that Panama had.
They're just not hitting the numbers.
To maintaining.
You're just not hitting the numbers, Dr. Adams.
Control over the canal. So now that there is an argument saying that Panama has fallen short of that said metric that they're expected to maintain, there is now the claim from the Donald Trump administration that the United States should now
try reading the book.
Responsibility and
it'll help with your vocabulary.
The Panama Canal. So that's basically what's happening.
Well, that's what I'm a little confused on, because I thought maybe those metrics were prior to Jimmy Carter just relinquishing it to them. But maybe I got that backwards. What I understood is that there's some Chinese involvement now with the Panama Canal, and that's why Trump's moving. But maybe it is what you said it was. But I'm a little confused on it. So
I mean, there always has been. When you look at the domestic exports that come into, the international exports that come, or imports that come into the United States, they have to go through one place. And one thing that a lot of people wanted to invest in terms of buying cheap is, people want to invest in buying a bunch of cheap Chinese products. So yeah, at some point, China is going to be able to call the shots. Now, one thing that I did notice, the time that I went down there in 2001 when they turned over the canal back to the Panamanian government, is that you have a pretty strong, Chinese population in Panama. I don't think that a lot of people understand that. And that's also why they've experienced an explosive growth in their development of Panama City. So yes, there has always been Chinese influence in Panama. That's always been very strategic. And the only reason why Panama has been able to entertain said relationships with China is because they are a sovereign country. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but they violated the agreement of us building the fucking Panama Canal to begin with.
What are you referring to?
Elon Musk is the meme lord.
And it's
meme king. He is our king of meme.
On a contractual land lease basis. So
contractual land lease basis. This man's a real estate expert. He creates real estate law as he goes along.
Starting in 2001. They have not maintained those metrics. Now, a lot of people can argue.
They didn't maintain the metrics.
Null and void.
Well, it's not null and void. It's subject to revisitation, if that makes sense. Like revisiting the issue at hand.
If you don't honor your side of an agreement, it's null and void.
Hold
Hey, you bitch ass is stupid, dude. If you fucking.
Okay, so this is not drunk belligerent doc hour. We're not gonna.
Oh my God! I know exactly where he's at. I know where he's at.
Conversation. If he wants to shoot off his gun and rub his freaking.
They're going on the hunt. He's here. He's here. He's here. He's here. He's on the hunt. He's roaming the streets of Chicago hunting. Oh my God, I know exactly where he's at. I've been there a million times.
Starting from 2001. So when the government received back possession of the canal, they were expected to maintain certain metrics. So, I mean, again, many people can argue whether they were not able to maintain, the reasons as to why they were not able to maintain the metrics. Some people will probably argue the pandemic. Some people will try to argue that, the metrics that were put into place were unfair, unreasonable, and unfeasible to the said country to maintain. It doesn't necessarily mean that the United States has a blanket claim to just take it. There is going to be a whole process in looking at, how what that's going to look like in years to come. That's not just going to happen overnight.
Of both hunting down illegal immigrants.
I read that part of the reason was that they that it's because it's a lock system. That it's actually a mechanical issue as well in terms of not having enough
Buenas
water, dealing with like shortages and being able to
I didn't. I'm going right now.
A certain tonnage that's maintained, a certain revenue that's maintained, a certain schedule of maintaining, supporting equipment. Like that goes all into the metrics that
Okay, I'll be back in about 10 minutes.
Did you see the proposed competition for the Panama Canal being like this rail bridge way through Mexico? Which didn't make a lot of sense to me because it seems like you'd have to deboard the cargo off a ship, put it on rail, and then reboard the cargo onto another ship. So it's like, how much at that point is it negative to just from going down around the Cape?
I just knew the whole
Cape of no, the Cape of Good Hope. That's not what I hear. What is the Cape down there?
Cape Horn?
Yeah, exactly. So it was kind of like the debate.
Dr. Adams.
Mexico did have this rail bridge, but it actually ended up being any cheaper than actually just taking a long trip around.
So I was looking for Harry on the PCR that you had a screenshot of it, but I realized it was just your.
Did you see anything about the rail bridge in Mexico?
My board name was Brian.
No, I didn't, and I think it's a waste of money. I think that they should resolve the issue with Panama. I think that the canal was built for a reason, and I think that we just need to come to a consensus as to how to operate that canal, given its certain entitlements of the U.S. being involved in the operation of that canal, and just restoring it to be more efficient to the people who are utilizing it. I think that that's just a simple solution. Anything else, in my personal opinion, is just investing money into infrastructure that would otherwise break.
God, leave the
I mean,
house and go
you're
get
talking
your damn
about
form.
seismic activity that can occur taking a railway through the mountainous terrain of parts of Central America, parts of Mexico. To me, I think it's just an impractical waste of money. I mean, it's equivalent to trying to build a high-speed rail in, 5 years? Now it's been, damn near 15, 20 years and the damn thing's still not even finished?
Listen to the last 4 parts. Great content. I think everyone will love it. Bren and a few others are in part 1
So
and 2.
I don't know. I feel
we
like
go into a few fights
a lot of these proposals are kind of just a wish list in a desirable, economic, stable environment where, number one, you'd have the resources to be able to do that financially. And number two, we would be able to have the working capital to be able to construct and produce that said resource in an efficient manner for which it's worth our while. I mean, to me, it's just a waste of time.
That's kind of crazy with
so I can do a little bit
being in charge of everything now, because it's gonna be a lot of spending. When ideologically, a lot of times the argument is against government spending. The public sector, they usually control everything. So when you think about taking over control of Panama Canal again, they're having trouble just the lock system working because they're having water shortage and this and that. I mean, then if we take back control of it, then it's good.
This is my first, not first, this is my third spending for 100 people. It would take 3.5 years.
So one of the misconceptions that I feel like a lot of people have about the Republican Party is that our efforts are focused on reducing all senses of spending. That's not true. We saw how much money, George Bush and Dick Cheney, put into the war in Iraq. So, I mean, it's not a matter of Republicans are willing to spend money. Republicans are not willing to spend money on things that do not make sense. And their biggest points of contention in budgetary items that Republicans have held as their point of contention have been social spending, welfare. So, and all the things that fall into the category of social spending. That's a large part of the reason why people were having a conversation in the Republican Party about, relieving people of their student loans. That falls into social spending. So, I mean, again, it's not that Republicans don't want to spend money. We don't want to spend money on things that do not make sense and where it is negating people's personal responsibility in supporting themselves. Do you see what I'm saying? National security and developing infrastructure, we can all agree, are things that make sense. It's like having a house. You have a fully functional house for you to raise, your wife, your 3 kids, and you have all the spaces that you need. Now, your circuit breakers go out. You're gonna have to spend $30,000 to rewire your house. Meanwhile, your wife is asking to remodel the kitchen to put in Carrera marble countertops. So the way that Republicans look at this is rewiring the house is something that is a necessity. That is infrastructure. You need to be able to have a habitable living space that includes having electricity. But Carrera marble, that is something that is a preference, and where a lot of Republicans feel would be equivalent to social spending. All the frills, the incidentals, and things that people otherwise could support themselves in being able to improve their skills and abilities, be able to compete in the job market, and to be able to engage in a certain level of financial discipline to where they're not spending copious amounts of money on things that they cannot afford and otherwise asking the government to be able to subsidize where they're not meeting the necessity of the expenses that they created in the middle. Does that make sense, Eric?
They're like, 10,000. I'm like, what? They're like, yeah. They're like 2 in the front, 2 in the back, 9,996.
The sit down with Trump and the mayor, Mayor Bass. Do you see any of that video?
I saw parts of it. The ones that were highlighted on a lot of certain blogs.
No, but your mom was so stupid. She thought Taco Bell was about to be a phone company.
18 months. Yeah. And then Trump was like, no, tomorrow. I was like, holy fuck.
Yeah. So
I mean, that confrontation was pretty monumental to watch.
I think it was performative. I think that many of us that have lived in California and have been in and out of the Palisades and know the area pretty well would understand that even the manpower in competing with the people that still live there, that still occupy their homes, the schools in Brentwood that are still open, the damage that has occurred along that highland down to PCH. You have 2 ways in and 2 ways out, okay? And in some places, if you're going from PCH over towards, Sunset, that's 1 way in and 1 way out, and you're competing with a very valuable artery that a lot of people use to take their kids to work and to school. So yes, I do think that it is going to take about 18 months, not only to be able to clear all that rubble, but it's also going to take 18 months for them to do assessments on how safe is the land on not only homes that have burned, homes that have partially burned, but structures that are still there. There's been a lot of vegetation that's been compromised with the fires, millions of gallons of water that was poured onto that damaged vegetation in efforts to put out the fire. Now it's raining. So again, people anxious to get into their homes. The last thing that we want in the state of California is people wanting to get back to their homes to, basically sort through a pile of wet, burnt rubble when we otherwise have a threat that we still haven't nullified, which is the mudslides. So I can understand why they're taking their time of allowing people back in there. Now, Eric, I don't know if you mentioned or if you remember Bluebird Canyon in Laguna Beach. People were so anxious after that Laguna Beach fire to rebuild their homes. Well, guess what? A lot of those reconstructions, it was not permitted. A lot of the pilers that they were using were not secured in their foundation to the actual hillsides. And when the rains came, a lot of those homes slid down the freaking canyon. The insurance companies, right. So again, I lived on the other side of that canyon. So for me, looking at how people were so quick to rebuild, now what they had to do to nullify that damage, okay, is they had to raise the sales tax from 6% to 9% in that city. 9%. So I hear that people are anxious to get back into their homes, but as an Angelino living in the same city as the Palisades, because the Palisades is not its own city, it's a part of the city of Los Angeles. I don't want my sales tax raised because people are anxious to go in there to do things that they're not supposed to do at a haste and through emotions, not properly planning and thinking it through, and us to have to suffer the financial consequences of our consumer spending now being raised to make up for the losses where the insurance companies are not paying. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. But one second, let me just back it up on the whole 18-month permitting thing. I could understand that it could take 18 months to get permits to rebuild up there on the island and throughout Palisades and even in Altadena. But I think that these people were just talking about getting in there and being able to remove stuff. That's what the fuck said, is that the guy was like, he wanted to start removing the damage, to just get the very first part process off the ground.
No,
they were saying that engineers were saying that 18 months just to even remove your shit, which sounds crazy to me.
Yes,
That's
no,
crazy.
it's not crazy because again, some of those roads, even before this fire burned, you used to be able to drive up parts of the Pacific Palisades, and when an Amazon truck is coming down the hill, you used to have to pull into somebody's driveway to be able to let that Amazon truck pass. Could you imagine those bulldozers and a lot of that other crap coming in and out of those narrow streets while people are trying to assess, do property appraisals? The tax assessor is going to be there to reassess the structural value, to reassess, people's property taxes. You have insurance adjusters. You also have geologists that are coming there to make sure that the hillside is not going to tear down. They're going to have to shore up, parts of those hills. It is not the time for people to try to get ahead of their construction goals. And I think that is where a lot of people are not being practical and understanding that it's a matter of safety at this point.
Yeah, but also too, you think about it, look, I understand your points, but other people that need point, what they're going to do is they're going to do a waiting game on these people, fucking drive these people out to where they have to get rid of land because they want to reshape and redevelop the area. And I think when somebody's hearing, oh, you're not going to be able to get into your lot for 18 months, I mean, it kind of, like that protracted amount of time does suspicious to me and does play into the narrative of the waiting game and trying to shake people out of their fucking properties.
It's really not, because again, there's certain it's really, I hear where you're coming from with that. However, I think that people are not looking at the mitigating factor behind the waiting game. It's not procedural. It is not something that is administrative. It's a matter of nature. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Even if those people were able to get back into their homes last week to be able to start doing what they were trying to do, it is raining right now.
Yeah, no, I get it. I think your points are strong, and also it's really that's more of your wheelhouse. You know the inside baseball. I'm a storyteller. But can I ask you a real estate question about?
Sure.
Just a basic. Look, man, I got kicked out of my place because my landlord's house burnt down. Like he just gave me the notice a couple weeks ago.
Wait. Oh, so they're basically. Yeah. So. In the state of California, if the owner wants to return back to their rental property as their primary residence, then they can serve you with a 30 to 60-day notice, just basically letting you know. Yeah, that's unfortunate. That sucks.
It's unfortunate, but like, I'm just being, I'm trying to actually expedite the process for this guy because he gave me 60, and he's like, if you get out 30, you're gonna help me out a little bit with a little bit of scratch. And I'm like, dude, I might be able to even have that, but
so by the way, we're technically in a state of emergency, so he should not be doing that. By the way, so we still have an active state of emergency going on. So legally, you're being very nice in this situation.
Yeah, exactly. He's like a friend, and I've been living there since I came back after the pandemic. So it's been a real nice situation for me, especially.
So where are you looking? Where are you looking to move?
Well, that's what I want to ask you. So like, do something temporary for a year to figure out what to do, because I don't even know if the TV industry is ever going to come back. Like, or the movie industry, it's fucked up out here. So I just want to give it another year. And you know what I like? There used to be like, it's called Ava Toluca Hillstar. It used to be Oakland.
I was just going to recommend that off of Durham. Yeah. So my ex-girlfriend that I just broke up with, that's where she lived before we moved in together. So it's a great community. Ava is, Avalon Bay Communities is a pretty decent landlord.
Is that the only one like that around LA? Because I feel like there's nothing else like that around LA.
You also have the Pearl in Marina Del Rey, where it's actually an old Oakwood property that they, have sold. It's a little bit more expensive. But yeah, there's the Pearl in Marina Del Rey. Are you looking for a 1-bedroom, a studio, 2-bedroom? Like, what are you looking for?
We're looking at 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom. Something with terrace.
Okay. You also may want to look at the Hollywood Ardmore. That's another one too, where it's very reasonably priced. It's a high-rise. So they're located in Whitley Heights, which is, in close proximity to the 101 freeway. So you can just jump on and get to Burbank.
Dude, my first ever place at Hollywood was at Franklin and Whitley, so I know exactly where.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Ardmore, yeah, I'll check that out.
Nice.
Look, it's kind of funny because before my lady moved in with me, she was living at Ava. So it's the same story. We had a similar story. But, I'm still with her, so that's kind of why we're looking at it. And it's like, we're looking at a lot of these other, like, hamster cages, and it's just like, the floor plans are so fucking weird. And it's like, Ava feels nice because it feels like you're stepping out of your front door and you're almost stepping out into the outdoors.
Right. The top of it just, like, sits up at that hill. You can walk to, like, the Hollywood sign trail and...
Yeah, you literally can get on you can literally hike the Griffith through the back hill there. Yeah, exactly, dude.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably where we're going to end up. Because I don't think there's anything else like that in LA. I mean, 2 pools, tennis courts. I mean, it's a nice place to just kind of like chill.
So you're looking for like more of a resort style setup. So you're leaning towards like a 1-bedroom. Do you mind like, sharing your general budget?
Football coach, the academic advisor. This is actually a funny story. You may this may kind of like fall into something that you kind of not agree with but understand. My counselors never sent off much butter crackers. He needs to be preparing trace charts
He needs to be preparing. A is for apple. And get ready for first grade teaching tomorrow.
To be fair, they don't do peanut butter anymore.
That's right. Sun butter.
Yeah, it's sunflower butter. That's what I was going to say.
That's what he needs to do. And the only reason why I say that is because the man treats people. I mean, people say, I'm an asshole. This man is aggressively mean for no reason ever.
Exactly.
His opening, he starts off by, you would think that he was a tenured professor at Northwestern. You would think that he was a lawyer who was admitted to the bar in California or New York. You would think he was a high-level executive. You would think he was a manager at Goldman Sachs. I mean, it is utterly astounding. It is utterly astounding to me.
Well, it
is utterly astounding.
The last thing I'll say is, I think.
Where'd you go to law school, Tucker Carlson? Where'd you go to law school?
I'll tell you in a smaller space.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Is it in the top 10?
Yes.
Okay. He will go back and forth with Tucker Carlson on the law. This is a man, I'll never forget this, that went back and forth on constitutional. Gad, I don't think you saw this. This man went back and forth with Steve Crone on case law. Does anybody remember this?
I didn't know.
I remember that.
Yes. Steve Crone not only went to Chicago Law School, which at his time, and now was the top 1 or 2. He clerked for 2 Supreme Court justices. The most famous federal justice in America. And he had the audacity to go back and forth with him, not on like opinion, but like on what the court has ruled over time. Like on actual fact. A man, as Odie said, that didn't know Chad was a country in Africa. I'm done speaking.
I think this is after Gad left the room, but I was just floored today when he did not understand the distinction between Jim Crow laws in the United States and affinity groups on college. I was just floored. That was a literal conversation I had.
Wait, didn't he also not know the difference between Great Britain, England, and...
Wait. That was TC.
Okay, I got them confused. My bad.
Hold on, explain this again.
So what happened was he was like, woke ideology is introducing horrible things into the culture, blah blah blah. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. This is like too frou-frou for me. Like, bring it down to earth. He's like, well, people on college campuses are like being segregated. He said they're segregating them on college campuses. And I was like, what do you mean they? Who's they? Who's segregating them? And he was like, yeah, there's like affinity groups. And I was like, wait. When I think of segregation, I think of like the government is like forcing people to be separate. And you're like talking about voluntary associations of people on college campuses. And he was like, yes. And I don't know what to do with that. But that he was struggling to understand the distinction between.
Yeah, I mean, my question was he being ironic? Was he trolling?
You were there, Kimberly?
I was there for a good part of it. I just have difficulty comprehending a Black man who seems to be 35-ish, 40, accepting wholesale the worst interpretations, the craziest right-wing interpretations of DEI. I mean, I can't accept a Black man saying that there are scores of unqualified, inept Black people at the highest rungs of institutional power. Who does that?
Yeah, that's
how he was raised.
And I said, can you tell us where this is happening? He said, well, are you admitting that at least it's happened once? And I said, well, sure, even if it happens one time, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's happening at at a rate that we should be concerned about. And I said, I bet you he can't prove that. He just can't. It's not happening. You know. So he had two other mods. No one on that stage with the green bean read the executive order. Not one. But they wanted to talk about it.
Who were the other moms? Just out of curiosity.
Just two idiots.
Does anybody, was one of them Adrian?
Wait, you know.
No, I don't think they really roll together.
Yes.
So no, actually, Adrian was a mod when I first got there, but she didn't speak and she left soon after I got there, so she wasn't involved in the part of the conversation.
I'm like, I can't see her just jumping on and letting that.
No, I can't either.
No, she came in. Her comments were very like in line.
I'm kind of confused. So he wasn't being ironic or trolling. He didn't see the difference between Jim Crow segregation and the Jewish and halal. That can't be. That can't be. Now, when he talked about a wide open, Josh Allen, the Bills are looking good. Wait, you're telling me that's why they should have kicked the extra point, Sonny, by the way. Because they now they can only tie anybody that's their session. Wait. When he was talking about affinity groups, did you guys get specific affinity groups?
He listed a bunch of like they sounded to me like black fraternities, basically. They weren't.
Right. Which also
that was exactly the point.
I knew that's what it was, and I'm like, but so he didn't say that Asian American Association or anything.
No, he didn't say halal. No, he didn't say halal.
No. Yeah. Well, so let me tell you how to do this debate, people. Let me tell you. When people have to say, just ask about halal, and ask if the Jewish students, by having halal, are segregating themselves. What they do is they use the black students. We saw it in Congress when the presidents came and they were talking about the housing, and they were talking about. Ask them if when the Jewish students have halal, their dorms, if they're self-segregating and enforcing Jim Crow. But I'm sure he mentioned a bunch of black stuff. That's what they're talking about. They're talking about the blacks.
So what I told him at the very beginning is that I think the exact language I used was something like, the reason a lot of white people oppose affirmative action is that they just don't want black people to get shit. That's what I said. And he said, well, you're wrong, because that's not the only reason people criticize DEI. And I said, I didn't say it was the only reason. I said it's one reason that a lot of white people do it. And I said, if you look at social media, if you read what's covered by the news, you will find that oftentimes DEI is characterized as anything that gives black people a free handout in the workplace and gives them stuff that they don't deserve. That is how the conversation about DEI is being framed. And it's true. It's not a remarkable assertion to make. This is simple. It's so bad now that people now define that DEI for them means didn't earn it. And when they say people didn't earn it, the people they're referring to are black people who didn't earn stuff. I told them about Ketanji Brown Jackson and how people said that she was a DEI nomination to the Supreme Court. A woman whose achievements, he had nothing to say because he doesn't know what her resume is. And her resume, I don't know that there's anybody on the court right now whose resume is better than hers. And I'm not lying.
No, I remember. It was one of the persons that was close, but I can't remember.
Alex, maybe one or two, but she's done a lot of great stuff. And there really aren't any people who have a better resume than hers right now. But yeah, so.
I don't know, man. I knew it would be the black student groups. I knew it would be other groups. There's affinity groups for all kinds. First of all, I don't think affinity groups are DEI.
Well, it depends on it depends on the context. You could
one could argue that certain affinity groups in the workplace serve a DEI function. Sorry. No, I was just saying it depends on the context. In the workplace, affinity groups are sometimes part of a DEI.
Oh yeah, I'm in a college campus. I'm in a
Sometimes they can fall under, let's say, like, you know, a diversity, equity, and inclusion office, let's say. But that's, I mean, I've seen.
But that's new. I mean, affinity groups have been.
Yeah, of course. But like they're kind of retrofitted into that office. Like if there's like a new DEI initiative or something.
But what, I mean,
he didn't get into a black fraternity, so he's mad. That's what it is.
No, he didn't have black friends in college.
He didn't grow up like that. He grew up with conservative parents who taught him that, you know, black people we're behind because we're lazy. Like that, he has that kind of upbringing.
Yeah, people tell their business. His dad was a conservative Republican in California. Yeah, people tell their business. He didn't have black friends when he got to his college. Remember, he went to a community college and transferred to a 4-year college where he's from. And he didn't have black friends. But yeah, I don't do you want to say here in a recording that Nat Turner, you don't have a problem with Nat Turner? No, I can say it on the recording. I don't have a problem with people in rebel. No, I don't have a problem.
That was the wildest conversation, actually.
I mean, I don't know. Someone put RJ put Larry Elder in the chat. I believe he was running around saying Larry Elder was going to win. And when they recalled Gavin Newsom wasn't going to win. And it was beyond prediction. It was like, I feel like this song, something, you know, I predicted that. I'm sure wrong too, so maybe I should use that as an example. I don't track that. That was a prediction he got wrong. But it's just that he just throw people down. I saw him cuss out Bonnet one time. It just came out of nowhere. It's nasty.
Oh, he kicked me into the goo, by the way, because I refused to retract my statement about one of the reasons people oppose DEI, and because I refused to retract my thoughts on his claim that unqualified blacks are receiving jobs that they don't deserve because they can't do it.
No, that was the thing.
Yeah, that's what he said.
That is what he said. And he is nasty. That's why I do not accept his stage invitations, because I don't like people who treat people like that.
I thought it was anti-black too. He was like,
yeah, that don't.
I don't know.
That does. That slides right off of him. I don't.
If I was a literal face.
Oh, that bothers him?
Maybe it's because it was me. I called him a coon one time.
That's you.
And he came into a room I opened to defend himself. I'll never forget that day, because he never goes in other people's rooms. And he wanted to know why. Because remember, this was the man that decided to have a conversation. To co-mod a room with Monica to defend people like Cardano using the phrase chipping out only for black people. Anybody else remember that? I'm not the only one who remembers that.
Yeah.
Of the phrase chipping out not being the white supremacist thing that's much being announced as the white supremacist use. He decided to co-mod that space and to still man the argument that Cardano might not be using it in a racist way. Yeah, he was co-modding that. Yeah. Y'all remember when Cardano came and started saying chipping out, then Monica and people started using it, acting like it wasn't racist? It's a lot of stuff that happened in these 4.5 years, y'all.
Exactly. That's why when people are like, oh, Monica, she hasn't ever done anything racist. I've never seen her. Like, ain't nobody about to go back 4 years worth of racism with this shit. Like, everybody tells you that she's racist. I mean, people that don't even fuck with each other all tell you that she's racist, but you need some more proof. Get out of my face.
don't find the constant piling on of her at this point interesting.
I just ignore her.
Patty,
Yeah.
exactly. Patty, just ignore, and if you want to have a combo, you can have a combo. We remember what she said in the very beginning about the Puerto Rican Day Parade and the blacks and the shooting. Because she got in an argument with, what was his name? Riley. You remember Riley?
Yeah.
The civil rights lawyer?
Yes, she got an argument with Riley. And she was saying it was black people, black Twitter can get your people because it happened on that move that Travis Kelce does every time he catches, where he puts his foot in the ground and does that little turn. After 14 years, defenders still fall for that shit. He's going to turn it upfield the other way. But anyway, he had said, like, black Twitter, come get your people or something. And I think it had happened on Juneteenth weekend, but it was at the Puerto Rican Day Parade, so she was wrong. Man, we've known since then. But going back and forth and yelling at her, that actually makes it worse. It's if you ignore her just for one, she just leaves after 20 minutes.
She does, because she loves the attention. Now, when she tries to join in, like, on certain conversations, and I'm like, okay, no, you're going to shut the fuck up out of this. Sometimes I have to stick. I don't know. I got to say something in those moments sometimes. She doesn't really talk that much when I'm on the stage, though. Because she already know.
Yeah, like this. You should say your piece. It's not even working.
Oh, come on, go.
No, it's not good for your. Oh God, Kansas City's at the 10 already.
Oh,
for your cortisol levels.
I would say
I agree, but take your own advice too, then.
No, my cortisol levels are high. And I don't really yell at her.
Not her.
I don't yell at her.
Not her, but you have your people.
Who? Like a.
I'm not gonna start naming right now.
Just give me one. What do you think of it?
But I have another question. Why does Matt want to come in here and watch the game with us? Like, I just don't understand. I just would like to understand.
Black Latino man.
Ain't this Matt that's like next to me on the stage? I really want him to go away. Like, why does he want to be in here? Like, is he just recording us, or like, what is the point?
Yeah, almost certain.
I'd like to give racist Monica her flowers. She's contributed one thing to my life, which is she's made me think deeply about how I feel